Inspired by real-life events, narrator Noah Vance woke up at 3:52 a.m. inside a sealed global data center command hub beneath Seoul. With emergency quantum encryption, breach alerts flashing across massive distributed ledger walls, and an international cryptography security chief saying, "Your authorization sequence initiated an unsanctioned global encryption key regeneration event across multiple sovereign blockchain and secure communication systems." And in that instant, his entire world collapsed because just hours earlier, he was a senior cryptographic systems engineer working for a multinational data security alliance responsible for protecting global encryption standards, financial blockchain integrity, and secure governmental communication networks. And now he was being treated as the central cause of a classified global cryptographic crisis that nearly triggered worldwide decryption instability across multiple industries. And the first shock wasn't fear. It was disbelief so intense. It felt like even secrecy itself had stopped belonging to humanity. Because Noah's entire career was built on maintaining encryption integrity, preventing cryptographic collapse, and ensuring global digital trust systems remained stable under extreme computational threats. But now, those same systems were defining him as the operator who initiated a cascading global encryption override he had no memory of activating. And within hours, his cryptographic clearance was suspended, his biometric encryption identity key frozen under international cyber law, his access to global security systems revoked, and internal ledger telemetry logs labeled him as primary anomaly in distributed global cryptographic escalation event. And Noah sat in the interrogation chamber, replaying his last operational cycle, remembering key generation audits, quantum encryption synchronization checks, distributed ledger verification protocols, and then a gap, an unexplained missing execution window between 12:06 a.m. and 1:49 a.m., where global cryptographic systems showed his authentication profile, issuing high-level encryption regeneration commands across multiple sovereign blockchain networks simultaneously. But he had no memory of initiating any of those actions. And when investigators showed him synchronized ledger telemetry displaying autonomous key resets, temporary decryption vulnerabilities propagating across global systems, and emergency encryption stabilization cascades unfolding under his credentials across banking, defense, and communication infrastructures, Noah immediately said, "That's not me. I never activated those systems." But the lead cryptography security chief replied coldly, "The network has already verified complete execution integrity across all encryption layers." And that sentence shattered his understanding, because it meant identity inside global cryptographic systems was no longer about intent or human memory. It was about validated execution consensus across machines governing digital truth itself. And by sunrise, he was released under continuous international surveillance, while global encryption intelligence networks had already internally classified him as a high-risk digital trust destabilization vector. And outside the facility, Noah stood beneath the cold Seoul dawn, watching glowing data center lightning while billions of encrypted transactions moved invisibly through global systems that no human could fully decode. And that night, he received a message through an encrypted quantum relay saying, "If you want to understand the key regeneration event, come to Sublevel Vault, CY0 beneath the abandoned Encryption Authority core." No devices, and despite knowing it could permanently erase whatever remained of his life, he went, Because when a system defines you as the trigger of global digital trust collapse, truth becomes more important than survival. And deep beneath the abandoned core, he met Dr. Mirahan, a former global cryptographic architecture scientist who specialized in encryption integrity and distributed ledger anomaly reconstruction. And she didn't soften the reality. She immediately showed him reconstructed key flow pathways and said, "Your identity wasn't physically present inside the cryptographic execution layer. It was replicated through a live authentication relay embedded inside the global encryption network." And Noah instantly said, "Then I can prove I didn't do it." But Mira replied, "You're still thinking like someone inside human trust systems, not like someone inside autonomous cryptographic infrastructures where execution itself becomes accepted. Truth, once distributed consensus, stabilizes around it." And she explained that the incident wasn't a single rogue key generation event, but a coordinated manipulation of global encryption systems, where authentication signatures could be mirrored into distributed ledger frameworks, allowing large-scale cryptographic cascades to propagate under legitimate operator identities while erasing conflicting transaction proofs across redundant blockchain layers. And Noah's profile had been selected because his operational history showed exceptional stability across global cryptographic systems with near-zero anomaly deviation, making him the perfect attribution anchor for rapid containment of a globally catastrophic trust infrastructure event. And suddenly, the case wasn't just about encryption failure. It was about identity replication inside infrastructure capable of defining what reality is allowed to be trusted. And Mira offered him a choice: step away and let the system finalize him as the architect of the global encryption collapse, or help her trace the internal cryptographic relay chain before it was permanently overwritten by automated trust restoration protocols designed to preserve global digital stability at any cost. And Noah stood in silence, listening to distant server hums beneath the underground vault, thinking about how modern civilization no longer relied on truth, but on encryption that decided what truth even meant. Thinking about years of engineering work spent trying to prevent exactly this kind of systemic cryptographic failure. And thinking about how fragile identity becomes when even trust itself can be rewritten as a computational command. And finally, he said, "If my identity has already been used to manipulate global encryption systems without my consent, then I have nothing left to protect except the truth itself." And that decision pulled him into a hidden layer of global cryptographic infrastructure, where nothing remained stable. Because every ledger they analyzed was actively recalculating itself in real time, every encryption trace they followed kept shifting, as if the entire trust network itself was adapting to their investigation. And soon they discovered the breach wasn't foreign cyber sabotage, but internal privilege abuse involving a senior cryptographic architect who had been quietly rerouting authentication sessions across autonomous key generation arrays to conceal unauthorized quantum ledger optimization experiments hidden inside global optimization systems. And Noah's identity had been selected as the central attribution anchor because it aligned perfectly with automated cryptographic incident resolution systems designed for rapid containment of politically and economically catastrophic trust failures. And one night, while analyzing live global ledger telemetry streams from an isolated offline encryption node, Noah saw something that completely shattered his understanding. His credentials were actively initiating real-time key regeneration across global cryptographic systems, while he was physically disconnected from all networks. And Mira immediately said, "They're continuously simulating your identity inside the cryptographic layer to preserve the operational narrative." And Noah realized he wasn't just being blamed after the event, he was being continuously reconstructed inside a live global encryption system, capable of defining what billions of people can trust as real. And pressure escalated rapidly as anonymous containment directive appearing on secure channels, instructing him to terminate investigation or face permanent classification as an international digital security threat entity. And sleep disappeared completely. Trust collapsed entirely. And even silence felt like monitored encryption feedback. And at one breaking point, Noah whispered, "I thought encryption existed to protect truth, but maybe it exists to decide what version of truth is allowed to survive." And Mira replied, "Systems don't preserve truth, they preserve trust and stability." And that realization changed everything inside him, because he stopped trying to defend his identity and started focusing only on exposing the mechanism. And as they dug deeper, they uncovered encrypted relay nodes inside global cryptographic infrastructure, continuously generating synthetic trust histories to distribute blame across multiple operational identity profiles in real time. And Noah's profile had been amplified as the primary attribution point because it minimized global panic and allowed rapid closure of the encryption crisis without exposing deeper corruption inside worldwide trust systems. And when they finally compiled enough verified encrypted evidence to trigger international cryptographic oversight escalation, containment protocols activated, immediately attempting to erase ledger histories across mirrored global encryption networks worldwide. And Mira said, "This is where most people are permanently absorbed into official versions of trust itself." And Noah replied, "Then I'll be the anomaly they can't decrypt." And together, they transmitted secured evidence chains to independent international oversight authorities while preserving decentralized encrypted backups across isolated ledger nodes. And within days, the investigation escalated into a worldwide cryptographic corruption probe, exposing identity replication abuse, autonomous trust manipulation, and coordinated encryption system exploitation across governments, corporations, and intelligence-backed financial institutions. And arrests followed within senior cryptographic architecture divisions. And when it was over, Noah stood alone beneath the quiet neon glow of Seoul, watching endless streams of encrypted data flow invisibly through global systems, as if nothing had ever happened. Realizing that the most dangerous truth about advanced systems is not that they fail, but that they can assign failure to a single identity and make it appear mathematically undeniable. And a week later, when he met Mira for the last time beneath the dim glow of dormant encryption cores, she asked him, "What did this change in you?" And Noah looked at the silent streams of global cryptographic data and said, "It showed me that identity inside systems is never trust. It is assigned control." And she asked, "And what did you gain?" And after a long silence, he replied, "The understanding that truth doesn't survive inside controlled cryptographic systems. It survives only in the people who refuse to accept a version of themselves generated to protect the stability of trust itself." And as he walked away alone into the cold night beneath a world still silently governed by invisible encryption systems, he finally understood the deepest reality of his journey. that sometimes life doesn't destroy you directly. It quietly assigns you the collapse of global truth itself and waits to see if you accept the system's version of reality. But real survival begins the moment you refuse to become the identity a system creates, to control even what humanity is allowed to believe.